So I'm asking a few questions like, I don't fully understand the meeting. I don't know who this person is. Can you tell me who this person is that you're trying to get me to meet with? Like, what's the purpose? What's the outcome of the meeting? So I asked just a couple of these questions because I'm like, if there's value here, then yeah, let's go ahead and set a meeting. That's a great thing to have. And this person was a marketing expert. Like, okay. So I asked like two questions, and then all of a sudden, this guy, this person that was the telemarketer on the call, hung up on me. Hey, welcome back, everyone. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I am one of the senior partners here at Action Coach in Central Texas. I am the founder and the CEO of Benefit Marketing, and just an overall lover of business and finance and art operations and marketing and all of that kind of stuff when it comes to business and how do we actually apply lessons along the way. So my journey, my way of doing these types of conversations, if you aren't a subscriber, if you haven't been following some of this information over the last few weeks, my goal is to share my real life lessons of things that I've learned. I read a whole bunch of books, I talk to mentors, I go through a lot of different things, and I test these different things in my own personal lives and business and all that kind of stuff and figure out what's it actually feel like? How does it actually work? What types of lessons am I actually learning, in between the learning phase and the application phase? And that is what I aim to share with each of you here. With that, it is the end of the week. I always love to do just a bit of a end of week recap, lessons learned, things like that, or just like things that stood out to me this week that I want to share with each of you here today. So with that, the one this week that really stood out is, I think the topic, if I had to kind of boil it down, is if you are a professional in a specific space, or you are claiming to be a professional in a specific space, then you probably should have the some credibility when it comes to actually executing on the things that you do. Now, that sounds really simple, but I want to give you an example of something that happened to me this week that just like stood out and went, huh, that's interesting. So I got a number of unsolicited phone calls over the last couple of weeks, as I'm sure many of you have. But over this last week, I think there was one day, a couple days ago, that I got like 9 or 10 phone calls in the single day, and I'm like, who, what is this, right? So it was about 6:30 at night, and I finally am like, I'm just gonna pick it up. I'm gonna answer it. I'm gonna see who this is. And it was a telemarketer on the other line. Yay, woohoo! Uh, and you know, I'm gonna just full pause for a second. It still surprises me today that there are businesses that are actually killing it and succeeding using telemarketing. As being someone that doesn't always pick up the phone if it's a number I don't know, there's still companies out there that are killing this strategy, and it just like blows my mind. So that all being said, I'm like, all right, cool. So there's a telemarketer on the other line. Maybe I can learn something from this. Let's hear what they have to say. I'm genuinely curious. So this person was calling, and they're calling on behalf of another individual, and they're calling on behalf of someone that I'm supposedly LinkedIn connections with. Like, okay. And their goal was just simply set up a meeting. Like, hey, let's set up some time next week for you and this other person to sit down and just have a genuine connect. Let's connect and let's talk about how we can just get to know one another. So I asked a few questions because I'm like, I don't understand the purpose of this call. There's so many things that I can fill my time with in business and all that kind of stuff for next week. I want to make sure that I'm allocating the time effectively. So I'm asking a few questions like, I don't fully understand the meeting. I don't know who this person is. Can you tell me who this person is that you're trying to get me to meet with? Like, what's the purpose? What's the outcome of the meeting? So I asked just a couple of these questions because I'm like, if there's value here, then yeah, let's go ahead and set a meeting. That's a great thing to have. And this person was a marketing expert. Like, okay. So I asked like two questions, and then all of a sudden, this guy, this person that was the telemarketer on the call, hung up on me. I was like, whoa, what just happened here? They hung up the call as soon as they got a little flustered because they had somebody on the other end that was actually genuinely asking questions to find out what's the purpose of the meeting so that we can see if there's value. And if there's value, we can sit down and we can do something. So I got off the call, and I was just like so shocked by, well, not so shocked, but I was a little taken back, a little surprised by the fact that they just hung up on me. Why did they hang up on me? So I looked this person up on LinkedIn and found them. looked through their information. They're, this marketing guru, this marketing expert. They've written books on marketing and all of that kind of stuff. I'm like, that's very interesting. We have a marketing professional who's doing cold outreach with telemarketing with a team that hangs up at the moment that the call gets hard. Like, how effective is that? Is that an indicator of how good they are at marketing? Maybe, maybe not. I don't want to cast judgment. But it was a very interesting play of like, your marketing doesn't work for yourself, but yet we're supposed to meet with you and see you as this big marketing expert person who can't even get meetings on the calendar because your team just hangs up the phone when they get flustered. Like, there's a gap here, and that's very interesting. So I sent this gentleman an email or a message on LinkedIn. It was just like, hey, I don't know if this is a common occurrence, just wanted to let you know this is what happened. And surprisingly, this guy still hasn't responded back. I'm like, well, what kind of marketing expert are you? I'm a actual live person engaging with both the person on your team and you on LinkedIn, and you're not responding to messages. Ha, if you're going to claim to be an expert in this area, then be good at it. Otherwise, you're showing, evidence right now that says, why would I or anybody else choose to hire you if you don't even respond to messages and your team is difficult when it comes to actually getting some marketing and all that kind of stuff? Like, if I was going to have you do that for me or anything in marketing for me, why would I expect there to be any different result? Just absolutely crazy. So I guess the moral of the story here is, if you're going to be claiming to be either a marketing expert or a coaching expert or anything else out there that you can be an authority figure on, then be good at it and show that as a genuine way of like, here's how I operate. Let me show you by proof of what I've done, so that we can continue to build a rapport and relationship and all that kind of stuff. So the sad thing is, I think I see this all the time, especially when it comes to people making phone calls. Just there's a whole bunch of people just clearly aren't that good at it. If you've got somebody on the other end of the line that's willing to actually open up and have conversation with you, have conversation with them. Lead with what's valuable. In this particular circumstance, I keep harping on the fact that this gentleman was a marketing professional, so they should know more of this stuff. But this goes kind of for anybody that's deploying this type of a strategy. If you're going to be outreaching to anyone, whether it's a direct message, it's phone calls, it's whatever it is, and it's cold messaging, then what is the value? What is the purpose? Why do you, if you're going to ask for 30 minutes, 40 minutes of their time, for this cold prospect, what's in it for them? Like, why would they spend and invest their time in sitting down with you? What are they going to gain from it? What's the purpose behind it? And just to get to know you isn't enough to move the needle in most cases. There has to be some level of value, because we're all very, very busy these days. And we have to allocate time in the way that's most effective for where we're headed. So if you can come to me and say, hey, Tanner, I'd love to sit down and have a meeting with you. Here's the 3 outcomes that I'd love to provide to you in that meeting. And if we can create some relationship rapport along the way, that'd be fantastic. But I'd love to do these types of things for you. Like, that's going to go a lot further way, because I can plug that into, okay, that's valuable to me. It's relevant to what I'm doing right now. Sure, let's connect. Let's talk through that. If it's not a fit, it's not a fit. But I'm happy to do that, because there's a reason why we're connecting versus just let's just meet to meet. Like, okay, while I know that's probably not the case, like, the fact is, you didn't lead with it. You didn't, in that case, that phone call that I got, they didn't lead with that. They didn't go through that process. So I'll get off kind of my soapbox here on that particular topic. But it is really important. If you're going to be an expert in kind of any field that you choose, I think it's really important to have congruency, to have alignment in the things that you do internally with the things that you're doing externally. Again, for me, taking different industries, things like that, I don't really want to work with a financial advisor or a bookkeeper, a CPA, or anything like that that's terrible at running their own finances. I don't want to work with somebody who says and tells me to do X, Y, and Z in my business, and they've never been able to accomplish that type of stuff, internally and personally. Like, there has to be that congruency to show that credibility, and that there is that actual knowledge there, and they're able to practice what they preach. It's what I try to do. That's why I do these types of things, because the reality is, I'm not always perfect. but I'm always going to put into practice the things that I am teaching, guiding, and doing things on. Like if I'm going to mess up a script, I'm going to own it and say, hey, you're right. I messed it up. Um, I hired the wrong team members and they did the wrong things or whatever it is. I'm going to own that because at the end of the day, it's my credibility that's on the line. And this was just an example of seeing that in real time in my own like personal experience and connecting with other people, things like that. So that's kind of my message or just lesson from this week. I think that congruency between what you do and what you teach or sell is really important, at least in today's day and age. And the fact that in some of these professions, there's so much competition that the more you can stand out just by doing the things that you preach goes a really long way. So congruency, and if you're going to be an expert, be an expert. Those are kind of the top two takeaways from this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you took something from it. And for those of you that are in kind of marketing, business, things like that, and you're getting telemarketing calls, take them, answer them. Actually ask some questions. These are actual real people on the other end of the line. Have a real human conversation with them, and just learn some lessons of like what works, what doesn't work, what intrigued you, what didn't intrigue you, what that way, in case you ever decide to use some of those types of things in your own business, it's kind of a good thing to look out for and kind of see real world what are people experiencing in real life with these strategies. So with that, that wraps up this week. For those that are watching this at the end of the week, enjoy. Otherwise, we will see you again in the next couple of weeks here as we continue to learn and apply and grow within our own businesses. Take care.